So I got my stimulus. I didn't know they're doing debit cards now for stimulus payments. So it's like a prepaid debit card through like this thing called Money Network. And I'm like, the fucking credit card president guy, of course, like pays it on a debit card. Like, you know what I mean? The guy who's like basically made a bunch of money off people being in debt and stuff like that. But I think they want to do it to have you pay bills. You know what I mean? Like they don't want you to like be like transfer to savings, because I transferred it to my regular account. Dude, this was like applying for a government job. Like when you like trying to transfer it to like a regular account. It was nuts.
Watch, you get like 26% interest on the first. It's like gone. You know, it's like the South Park. It's gone,
dude. Yeah, exactly. It was a trip, dude. Like under Trump, it was direct deposit under Trump for me.
Dude, under Trump, what changed? I got so much more money. I didn't get anything under. I've gotten zero since Trump left. It's kind of fucked up, dude.
I haven't gotten it yet. I have no idea when or how.
I don't know. It's weird. It's like, man, we live in a failed state.
I had mine stolen. We had our mailboxes, like the apartment complex mailboxes, broken into. And like I figured as soon as I saw them all open, and like they had this, I guess the U.S. Postage has their own police, which I didn't know, and they're in there like, and yeah, it was like postal police, like, and they're in there and they're digging through the mailboxes, and I'm just like, that's our stimulus. I was like, there's no,
of course it is.
It's not everybody's birthday this week, and I'm thinking like that's our stimulus. So then we have to reclaim it on our tax refund, which then that's being delayed by UI unemployment, because we did our taxes too early. Unemployment regulations changed, so now they're delaying that to the summer.
Yeah, it's fucked. This is the first. Yeah, this is the first year I'm gonna legit like hire a tax person, because I have no idea like what.
For you, I agree.
Yeah, it's fucked. Yeah,
you guys are suckers paying your taxes.
I know,
None of this happened. I just have to say this to get everybody off my back.
From the 5 to the 6, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, I can't do that shit. And I don't never vote, cause I'm fucking broke. And either way, I know the police ain't gon' leave me alone. On a plane by to visit Glen Rock, need crypto, told me I should bring the Glock with me. So I packed up my piece and I'm sliding. Cause we might get caught up in a riot. Middle finger Trump, middle finger Biden. Fuck a left, fuck a right, is you riding? Know you love to see it, dudes rocking. Ain't no politics, baby, we just talking. From the birds to the bricks, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. Who you with?
So we got Peter Coffin in today. Peter, what's going on, man?
Oh, hey, not a lot. It's Saturday. It's a nice day. Just sort of been hanging out, editing, changing audio into video.
Yeah, and you got a bunch of stuff going on, so I'm gonna let you plug everything you got going right now. So I don't like to save it for the end, because then people might just stop listening at the end.
Sure. You can follow me on twitter.com/Peter Coffin. I have a YouTube channel. I do videos with my partner, and also a podcast called Packed that is available at youtube.com/Peter Coffin. Also, my series, Very Important Documentaries, is available there. I also have a book out called Custom Reality and You that is available on Amazon, and also my my own little personal store on my website, petercoffin.com. If you, for whatever reason, think that it makes any difference to buy from a different random corporation that isn't Amazon.
Cool.
Some people do.
Yeah. Some people do it. Some people do it. But so you have a take on veganism, and we'll get to that later. What I want to get to right now is I almost don't even like talking about her much anymore, but AOC's had quite a week on what was the, so I won't even get to what I saw today or the last couple of days, but what was the interview? What publication was that in that she did, where she was?
It was with Democratic Left, which is a publication of the DSA.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we went through it line by line on Packed, and it was just this. It is not a good interview. It is absolutely just sort of like, hey, I know that you guys wanted more, but this is what we got. You got to support it. It's bad faith not to support it. You can't criticize it. That's not a good thing. Criticize. It's just like, And then, she spent this last week doing these interviews with, random places, like trying to act as though she is critical of the Biden administration while at the same time running apologetics for their immigration policies. Like, if you see videos of what's going on down at the border right now, it's not any different.
No.
It's horrifying. They have all these people packed in these tiny places during a pandemic.
Yeah.
It's horrifying. It's genuinely horrifying. I don't know how anybody can
legit
see
more
that and go,
more
I guess it's better than Trump.
And more people than ever before, right? And the whole thing, and the only thing she says, the only thing she's like, oh, it's better because we're not separating from the parents. That's like the one thing I think that's like why that's the main difference.
That's the one thing she provided, and she didn't provide any proof for that. First off, we need some degree of proof to just believe that kind of crap. But like, let's say that's true. Oh, great, you're arresting the mothers and keeping them in these tiny facilities where you're jamming. Like, these are facilities that are designed for 400 people, and like they're putting 2,500 people into these places. They're crammed full of people. And again, like, these are not people that are vaccinated. Like, you're talking people that you're literally just plucking out of like the desert or the wilderness and shoving them into a box. It's awful.
And didn't she make like a ableism thing for Biden too? Wasn't she kind of hinting at that? Like, are you making fun of this? Like, for real? Like,
there was some kind of mention of like his cognitive abilities, and it's like, I don't know if this is the topic you need to be covering.
You should be allowed to be ableist against the president, I think, actually, too.
Yeah, like, I kind of think whatever like bad ideas you have about whatever the president's doing, it's kind of like, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not a. I don't think being president's an equal opportunity job as far as certain. I'm sorry, like, it's a lot of stuff involved. We're not talking about like just other jobs, right? Like we're talking about the president of the United States, and they're like, hey, he's kind of, right now.
I mean, we are talking about what is at least ostensibly the most powerful person in the country, right? The most powerful individual person. And if we're not allowed to talk about his cognitive capacity, which is like, it's not even, I understand that some people are like, well, you can't be making fun of these things because other people suffer from issues and it changes like their situation. But it's not the same thing. Like, it is natural that we have some decline in cognitive ability as an elderly person. That is not that's not something that is outside the realm of expectation for every human being. That is not. That's not mean.
That's a fair game. I'm sorry, it's fair game, and let's not pretend that there wasn't like the Trump is not well thing. Remember when he was
yes, every day, every single day, you could find people who are like, look at this lunatic raving and ranting and his dementia. Like, they said the same thing about this guy, and suddenly it's not okay. I'm sorry, no, it's okay.
And I'm sorry, Trump's dementia, which I don't deny, it has a different flavor than Biden's. Biden's a little more applesauce, a little more like
we're talking about like the difference between like Cajun fries and like
Cajun fries,
a cup of milk.
Yes. So funny.
Yes, exactly. But so I find it funny, and like just the history on us, like, so he was a lot more critical of AOC, like probably since we started this podcast, and I was kind of just the hopeful one where I just said, let's see, let's see and find out, and he was like, no,
Bob got it from the get-go.
yeah, exactly. And it was like, you just crushed it. And so for me, after a while, what really the whole like fucking bitch gate thing that happened when the senator allegedly called her a fucking bitch, when that happened, I was like, this is a branding thing. That was when I fully was like, this is all protecting the brand. That's all it was.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, I don't know. I was wondering today, what do you guys think? Is it going to be one of those things where she paid her dues to the DNC and now she's like in there for good? Or do you think she'll get like primaried because people are like, what the fuck? And this is not what I bargained. It's kind of,
it's my opinion. Yeah. I think that she's hoping for the former, or she's hoping for that situation, but I don't know that situation I consider workable. I think that you're talking about somebody whose ultimate like demographic is not like it's not stable. Like in terms of what she ran on, it's quote unquote radical stuff. And a lot of the like milquetoast Democratic establishment and voter base is not oriented towards that. Like you see a lot of people who happily dunk on like the socialists. Whereas at the same time, she has also spent so much time pandering to that set as well. And as evidenced by this DNC or sorry, this DSA interview and this week of like apologetics for the Biden administration, which is based on literally nothing but him just not being Trump. It's my opinion that she's catered to two demographics which are sort of diametrically opposed to each other. And too many people notice stuff like that. I don't think that it's going to work. I don't think that she's going to be president at some point, for instance.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that there's going to be something that happens, but I'm like going back to like, damn, what if Joe Manchin won? Like, I feel like it would have been it's so much. What people just don't realize is, and I'm talking about more so like my normie friends that are just like kind of baseline level liberal, just they think that that's the default to like doing well is just being a liberal. Not so much the online, like super online left, but just people I talk to, they go, well man, I mean, it doesn't look, maybe she's not perfect, but hey, she's somewhat for this, somewhat for that. And, but it's more harmful that way when you're able to sell that to like young people. Joe Manchin is not cool to young people.
No,
Instagram wouldn't go crazy if you did a live video. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you wouldn't see the little hearts and the smileys flying up on the side. You would see just people like, you would see maybe like 23, 33 people watching it, and you wouldn't get a lot of engagement.
Yeah, 7 of them with the last name Manchin would be watching it. They'd be like, yeah, there's Joe. We love Joe.
At Joe's least one with the name Pelosi.
Yeah.
At least one with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Good job, Joe. Thanks for holding down the fort.
Yeah, it's not
a single smiley goes up the side.
I know. And she's just basically like, I always thought her and like Mehdi Hassan were almost the same way, where they like were like, this is as far left as you can go in America. If you're further left than me, you're an idealist. It's not going to happen. And that's why I find her to be more harmful. And I didn't understand that originally. I kind of was like, even knowing she wasn't great, I was like, well, it's still better than having just a typical like neo-lib war hawk, which honestly, even she's probably going to end up being a war hawk. So like I can't. Yeah,
I think she's very clearly shown that she's on the track to just be a typical neo-lib war hawk at some point.
Damn.
Which she will have to ultimately like sell the progressives up the river at some point, and that like that's her only real path at this point, because I don't think that there's any like, I think that the set that is skeptical of the DNC is done with her at this point. I think that that's going to expand from like your former Bernie supporters are going to start, flipping against AOC. Like obviously you see the, your genuine Marxists and your that those folks have not been for AOC for
right. Yeah. Well, it's funny.
Remember.
And because like Bernie will always have like some love, because his whole career, like he trashed it at the end, by becoming a lapdog. But like, see, but he'll always have some, like he had some respect, he was an independent and he did some cool shit and everything or whatever. But like AOC hasn't like done anything. She just kind of rode that wave, and
just the Amazon.
She
all you
came
get
in
is Amazon.
basically saying, I support Bernie Sanders. Like basically how she got someone. And the fact that that's what she wrote in on, and she's going like, hey, it's bad faith to criticize Biden for not getting anything done. It's like, I'm sorry. No, you literally rode in on the not blue wave. You kind of rode in on the slightly red, maybe a little pink wave. And now you're trying to act like it was the blue wave. Like it's no. I think that like you can see the evidence in the same kind of thing going on with Chomsky right now. Yeah. Like Chomsky back in August did this interview where he literally said that Joe Biden was like a chasm apart from Donald Trump in policy. And now you see I mean, to his credit, he's at least understanding that he has to do reputation management, and he's saying like, there is no fundamental change here, blah blah blah. But he still did the same thing when the rubber met the road.
Yeah.
It's like, as much as he recognizes that he was on the wrong side in the issue, like, he's also 90 at this point, and has seen enough presidents to know that you can't elect somebody and push them left. That's bullshit. That's pretend.
He's just doing classic old guy things, you know, albeit with a pretty sharp mind, you know. Like,
and what was push them left? Like, here's my thing. What do they mean by push them left? I've never heard that. It's never okay. He already said I'll veto any Medicare for all bill. That was a Biden quote when maybe his brain might have been a little sharper about a year and a half ago when he said that. And he said like, I that's not happening.
Come on,
man.
You
know, like I don't even. I will alienate the left. I don't care. Like, I'll let you know this isn't gonna happen.
Well, he was literally like, I beat the socialists, man. You see that, Jack?
He's a Red Scare.
You want to do a push-up contest?
Yeah, he was around during like the Red Scare era. He's like, no, we're not doing that. Yeah. I hope you know that. Like,
he was around during segregation. He was like, we are doing that.
Yeah. I'm still working on getting the buses back the way they were. He's like, but he's crazy, man. Like he ends up doing that. And what was push him left? Was it he put his pronouns? I saw he put his pronouns in today. He didn't, but they put pronouns.
I'm so happy that Joe Biden put his.
But I honestly think that's what awesome. What push him left meant to these people. I really think that's what that meant.
Oh, definitely. Like, people think that left means like social justice, and no, it doesn't. It absolutely does not, because social justice is, unfortunately, it is an aesthetic way of addressing underlying systemic issues. Racism is 100% an ideological justification for banishing a certain set of people to a certain class. And that's all it is. That's all it's ever been. That's what it was to justify slavery. That's what it is today. And wokeness and, you know, all of the sort of social justice derivatives, I don't really know what to call them beyond wokeness at this point. It's really just set on like, okay, well, we can't address that. So what can we address? All right, individual behavior. All right, so then you pursue that sort of line of thinking. And then you eventually get to this idea where like you get enough of these people who are acting extreme about it to where they start doing the same kind of segregation bullshit. And it ends up being like I don't know if you saw this cartoon. We covered it for our most recent episode of Pact. This cartoon that a Democratic congressman posted in order to combat.
Is it the monkey climbing the tree?
Yeah, the monkey, the elephant,
Jamal Bowman.
Jamal Bowman.
Uh-huh,
I didn't want to use his name because I wasn't sure if he was.
No, he was the one. He was the one. I was excited when he got elected. I was like, wow, that's
he's
pretty
not.
cool.
In terms of what he's advocating for, it's not bad. Like, I agree with him that standardized testing is ultimately a racist thing. I agree with that.
Yeah,
like,
that is bullshit.
But like, but like when your argument against it is, well, people are just like different species of animals. And like what you end up doing is that same essentialism. And this is the kind of woke Ouroboros that happens. It comes around and it eats its own tail.
It eats its own.
This is the name of my next book, by the way, Woke Ouroboros.
Right on.
Solid.
You know what? Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
The ultimate thing that we end up on is this same kind of, it's ultimately segregative. It's ultimately like giving you the idea that people are essentially the thing that you perceive them to be, that, you know, there isn't like systemic reasons why, you know, people got different opportunities or were equipped with different tools or sets of knowledge. You know, never mind the fact that public schools in this district are underfunded and this district are not. They're different species. They're like an elephant and a monkey, man. They got they're fundamentally different. And I know that they don't do this stuff on purpose, but it doesn't matter how good your intentions are. What matters is the end of it. And this is, in my opinion, the kind of stuff that we get into when we start talking about this kind of crap. Again, it's a woke Ouroboros.
Can you bring up that cartoon? What I love about the
I'll find it.
What what I love about the monkey itself is like the monkey looks racist or it looks
Yeah.
like racially, like it doesn't even look like a regular monkey. It looks like if you were to draw like a racially
it
charged
does
monkey
look
or
like they are
something.
kind of
yeah.
A little bit of a 4chan monkey. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I was
And what I think is
yeah.
completely nuts about the comic is that the teacher who is administering this test to these animals is a human being.
Yes. Yeah.
And he looks like an evil human being
Like a
from the
white dude,
1950s.
Yeah.
He's got
The
like a little
glasses.
mustache and everything. Like he
hilarious.
looks like that. He looks like Walt Disney.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But well, we got rid of Dr. Seuss books.
Yeah.
So that's,
I mean, to be fair, I looked into that and there's some pretty racist shit in the books that they actually got rid of. But like at the same time, you could disclaim things and like explain them rather than just remove them.
Well, but then
It could be like a teaching
run
moment.
that cartoon. It's like a damn near a Dr. Seuss cartoon now that we're using to get rid of like
I totally agree. Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's like
but-
and I'm sorry. I think he actually deleted the tweet. I think I think enough people got to him. I was looking for it, but he that's what I found funny about that. And it's like, can you imagine just the people thinking like, need a cartoon? Like we need a cartoon, guys. Like this is just it's gonna have to happen here. And they're like, yeah, what about this? And he goes, I'm thinking zoo animals. Yeah. And they're and it's like, why would you?
Yeah.
Why is
I got
that
it
the
for
first
you.
one? Oh, you got it. Okay, perfect. Okay, so he didn't delete the tweet. All right, let's see.
No, somehow he has not deleted this thing.
Well, I didn't see that much pushback on it other than like maybe a few people. I thought like even like the super woke people would be like, hey, Jamal, love you, man. This one's not doing it for me.
No, it didn't really get a lot of pushback. It did get so the right wing did push back on it. If you look through the quote tweets, there's a ton of right wingers who are like, this is racist. But it's like, you know, that at least some of them are not saying it because they have a genuine belief as to it being racist. It's just team sports to most of the people on Twitter, anyways.
Right.
But like, you're 100% right about that fucking monkey.
Yeah.
I did not even think about that. When
It's the ears. It's the fucking
it's the ears. They literally did like a racial caricature.
That
like,
doesn't
if
even
you
look like a
the,
monkey. Yeah, that doesn't.
Yeah, if you
It's
do
like-
the like, it looks like a Dr. Seuss monkey.
That's
say.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude.
Well, and the crow wins, by the way. Everyone's like, oh, the monkey wins in this one, right?
Oh, I didn't even
it's
notice
like,
No,
the
the
the crow wins. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
The
crow- you ever
crow's
see
a
crow
badass.
fly
In a
up?
tree
Yeah.
climbing contest, a crow is the biggest badass because
crow
it's just
privilege.
like, yeah, exactly.
Jim Crow.
A crow is the white guy.
stop it.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
No, what we were talking about in
monkeys and crows to prove that standardized testing is racist.
exactly. Like,
I
old
love
Jim Crow and this monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't pick the crow's name. It just was that. I'm just like, this is, yeah.
Could
Like
have been
they
any
removed
bird.
Dumbo for that. Why hasn't he deleted this tweet?
Oh, and yeah, I didn't even think. Yeah, the whole thing sucks. Dude. It's like it didn't even. You could tell I didn't even think of this, but it hit like three winners in a row.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. Yeah.
But seriously, and look
yeah.
look at the teacher. Look at that damn teacher.
Let me pull it up again. Look at the T. Yes. Yeah.
He's like an evil guy from the 1950s.
What's the class? Phrenology? Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
see, yeah, it's like
So,
one of the.
let's talk about skull size.
Well, let's talk about the fundamental differences between whites and blacks.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it's nuts. Dude. Like, what a
Oh,
cartoon. What, like, Jamal Bowman's like, it's funny because like we're
Yeah.
scrutinized. I mean, not we're, but just like a lot of people get scrutinized way harder for like stuff that they post, and then they're just like, yeah, an elected official. Go ahead, run with that one.
Yeah, man. Well, it's funny. I feel like our generations broadly. Remember, like learning in school.
Mhm.
You know, like we're all the same, and we're all one, and you know, and it's all like you know, we're all, and that's what makes America great is you know we've conquered slavery and all this stuff, and you know, which we all know is like not like the real story or whatever. But then like the woke Ouroboros, is it? Or you're saying
yeah, that's what I've been.
it's like it's
I didn't
flips-
mean to announce my book title, but it's impossible
yeah.
not to say
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I don't, it's
Well,
not
it flipped-
yeah, it's perfectly fine with us.
it flipped so hard in the other direction that it's like no, like we're not the same, you know. And it's like I get why they do that because they're trying to preserve cultural identity and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but like
For sure.
it has a double-edged sword, you know. It can get really negative, you know. And like, and I'm sorry, I do think we are fundamentally all one and not the same, but like we need to see ourselves as a humanity. Like I'm humanist, but people are like the woke crowd's like, that's racist now. It's like, what the fuck? Like we can do both. We can conquer some systemic shit while also acknowledging our humanity without having to fucking divide. Probably what your original book is about. I haven't read it, but I would presume that's where we're just dividing into so many different categories.
Yes. Custom reality in you is very much about sort of, to summarize it really quickly, I think that the media apparatus and capital has more or less created a situation in which we do the alienated labor of our own reality construction under their direction, using their apparatus, taking the choices that they give us, et cetera, et cetera. And we ultimately think like, oh, I came to this conclusion. I'm smart. I am this, but it's really just like components and mechanics that were given to us. That's custom reality in you, basically.
It's like a bait and switch. Yeah. I got to read that. Damn.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's funny because like you said, the people will always deny like the capital involvement with wokeness too. That's what I hate. It's like, at least like when something is like a super like vetted industry where they know it survives, like, obviously this industry couldn't have existed 50 years ago. I don't think anybody would debate that. It just couldn't have. It wasn't in the demand of society. But what's funny is like even things like the border, people won't acknowledge the fact that the border is a result of capitalism, like the stuff that going on at the border. It's like doesn't the Chamber of Commerce like run a lot of the immigration stuff? Like
I believe you're right, but I don't want to say anything definitively.
Sure, no, this is just stuff I've heard. But it would make sense, just with what we do. Like I
believe they're at very least involved, if I am not mistaken.
Exactly. And so why it's weird when you bring that up, because like for me again, and I'm assuming you're the same way, Peter, it's like we're not actively racist, right? Like we're not actively racist. I will never I won't ever go along with it. I'm not a white masochist guy that'll be like, you're right, I am, like, please forgive me. And
I'm very specifically against racism. Like I hate racism. Exactly. If you like, I will repeatedly like disclaim, like, here's the thing. I am a class analysis person. You'll find like at my root, it's class analysis. However, you can't do class analysis without a critique of ideology, because ideology does the work of keeping certain people in certain classes and certain positions. And if you don't have that, you're never going to resolve the antagonisms that class is.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Beautifully put. Yeah. Exactly. And you're a pretty big, like, you're popular online on Twitter and stuff, and with that, and you're
popular.
Well, yeah. Well, it's funny.
Hey, you got me like in trouble with Movie Bob. So
I can get anybody in trouble with Movie Bob. All I have to do is retweet them.
You retweeted from our account. It was a very banal gun take that I had, where I basically was like, I don't like guns. Not a huge fan. Probably won't ever own them. Just not my thing. And I still think they're weird, but I don't think gun control is popular in America. I don't think it's popular if you like actually go outside the big cities. Most people are like, no, give me my guns. Movie Bob, what he said to us, because I'm assuming, I can't say that this came from you, but I have a feeling. Like I feel.
It definitely did.
Yeah. Okay.
He stalks my account. I have him blocked, but he still stalks my account.
He's got seed account somewhere. Yeah. But what he found mine, and he goes, okay. I don't even have the tweet saved. He said, okay, here's the thing. Snickers are bad for you, and apples are a lot better for you, but the American people would prefer Snickers to apples because of the taste, but we need society to make laws about like you eating more apples than Snickers. And I just, instead of critiquing his thing, I just said, why don't you stop talking to me about eating healthy? That's all. That's all I said. Like in return, and like that was it. I was just, and then I get all the Movie Bob stands go like, all right, fat jokes, great. I'm just like, first off, Snickers are not illegal. They're advertised on TV. So if you want AR-15 advertisements on TV after a dull pineapple commercial, sure. Like if that's Movie Bob's world, like sure. It's nuts. I don't like that was funny. So yes, Peter, you're popular because you got me in trouble with Movie Bob. That's my thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I was saying is you're a popular account that is a class analysis guy, which brings all sorts of haters out of the woodworks, which is hilarious. Like, I love seeing it. Like, I know it must not be fun to deal with or whatever, but it's Yeah, because I mean, I don't know. I got like my account locked and with probably under 1,000. I don't even know. I don't use Twitter like that.
You're
whatever,
under 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like, it's just so interesting, this whole class debate and the race thing. And what's funny is like we've talked about it before on this pod. Like, yeah, there are some bad actor class type people that are for sure, but they're so rare. Like most of the class people like have good race takes, and they're just like, yo, I don't say this doesn't exist or that we don't need to work at it and stuff. It's just
Absolutely.
it's so strange. Yeah, it's so crazy.
The thing about like like, are there actual like fools out there that like reduce things to class? Sure. I guess there's probably some out there. I generally find that they don't actually have a real understanding of class for the most part. They're more economic reductionists.
Right.
At least that's my thought. Whenever I observe them, they like start saying things like, well, Medicare for all would solve racism in some way. But it's like, well, that's not a class analysis take. Like Medicare for all has nothing to do with class. It is a commodified industry of insurance. It is decommodifying that. That's certainly a good thing. That is something that I would personally like. In terms of like, if I can't have the end of the current socioeconomic system, yeah, let's decommodify 17% of the economy. Sure. But in terms of what that actually is, even if you like, would it help racism? Yes, it actually would help racism, I think. But would it end it? No. And to act like it would be some sort of like fundamental change towards fixing that type of ideological and systemic problem, I don't know. I don't understand that take personally. I do think that it would disproportionately help Black people specifically.
Yeah,
I would say that.
Yeah. And and like, okay, here's my like, what's the alternative? Would you rather racism with no healthcare, racism, I have healthcare? Like, I mean, I'm just like, look at the trade-off. Like
racism, also people of minority groups have healthcare.
That's what I'm saying.
Like that's the big, that's the specific thing. Like you disproportionately represent those people in like poor and working class demographics. So ultimately you make it so that everyone has healthcare. You help a larger proportion of marginalized groups than you help other people. Does that solve racism? No. Do some people say it would solve racism? Yes. I would call that person an economic reductionist, though, because Medicare for all it's not class analysis. It's social democracy. It's not a step towards the abolishment of class society. If anything, it actually preserves a lot of the structures that enact class society. However, a lot of those structures could also be more vulnerable to a populace that isn't, dying.
Exactly. It's crazy. The I think it's funny because I don't even know, because I the way I look at it is like, I don't like shun, I don't run away from the term class reductionist. Sure, you want to call me that, that's fine. I don't like see it as some horrible label, but I would say it's more like a class inclusionist. Like I'm like, I'm like including class into this analysis. Like rather than reducing it to that. It's like, no,
the name sucks.
I care about the Derek Chauvin trial. I want Derek Chauvin to rot under the jail. You know what I mean? Like, I care about
absolutely.
I'm not, that's what I mean. I don't give a shit about that. It's like, no, I want him to rot under the jail. You know what I mean? Here's the thing. I also, if that happens, we still got work to do. You know what I mean?
And, I know. And it doesn't resolve police brutality at all. It simply holds an individual accountable, which is not enough, just to be completely clear. Like to act. And here's the thing about that too. Specifically in that situation, you end up having, because you have like people who are obsessed with individuals and just holding a person accountable, and that's the end game. You end up having people want to dichotomize this cop as like the ultimate evil and dichotomize George Floyd as the ultimate good, when like the reason that he was killed was it was counterfeiting a $20 bill. We erase that from the conversation to act like that's a bad thing, that's an evil thing, and we can't have the good guy do that. When in reality, that is a symptom of poverty. That is a thing that we should be addressing specifically. Like, why did that guy feel like he had to counterfeit a $20 bill? That's insane.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And also, what side do cops protect, right? Some people will say cops protect whiteness. Oh, sure. I won't deny.
It's
that there are
coincidental.
a lot of race. They defend capital is what cops defend.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They
And
say-
capital
That's
happens to
their
be
role.
disproportionately white. Like, don't I am never
it's
going
both.
to like
It's both.
that is specifically why I believe that white supremacy is something that needs to be addressed. It is something that is reflective of the relationship to capital that people have in this country.
Yeah.
It is a very tiny amount of mostly white people that hold most of the capital.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's
And
a fact.
and the Chauvin thing, I mean, the trial would be, it'd be satisfying if it came at the end of a long struggle where we got all these concessions of like, oh, we're not even demilitarizing the police, and and all these things, and we're getting rid of immunity.
We gotta give
what's
them
that
more
called?
money, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Jack?
Yeah, but now,
Right. Up the budget, please. Yeah,
shoot him in the leg. Yeah, exactly.
I did
But
see
it's-
that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I
We
know,
gotta have our
but it's like,
cops ready to do push-up contests at drop of a hat, man.
yeah, push-up contest.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
I'm
called
sorry,
fat.
I'll
Hey,
say
fat.
push-up contest. Just like, yeah, they're too fat.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cops,
that,
you
I
got
would
too
win
fat.
that.
You heard that on MSNBC, man.
Dude, he was great in the before he was actually a front runner and the president.
Yeah.
He was hilarious.
Before they realized they needed to shut him the hell up.
Yeah, it was great, man. It was great.
Unfiltered
Yeah.
Biden, we miss him.
Yeah.
Oh
What I'd
man,
say
I
is,
wish
like, the
I wish
whole-
desperately he ran his Twitter account. That would be the best
Oh.
thing in the world.
Oh my
Because
god.
like, can you imagine when he woke up in the morning and realized his interns added his pronouns to the profile and didn't know what it meant and started tweeting about it?
yeah.
That would be the most amazing.
Or
thing. I got up, man. Jack says it that I'm a he, him. I thought that I was that before. Did we need to say that at any
Yeah.
point? I'm gonna stop talking now.
Yeah, exactly.
He'd be an all caps guy. He'd be an all caps. Yeah.
I think he'd be posting like his searches like on Facebook. Like he would be like, how to set up my printer, send tweets.
yeah.
yeah,
Epson 462E model. Yeah.
exactly.
But what the best Biden is that how many genders do you think there are? At least 3. That that was
Honestly,
such a line,
like,
dude. Respect.
In terms of how bad of an answer he could have given, that was
that was-
not
yeah.
that bad.
I know, respect.
I was expecting
I
to
would
say
absolutely,
like one. We're all
Yeah.
together or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be. I would say 0. Like that would. I'd be like genders. Like it's a thing that they use to enforce certain ideological separations. Like there's 0 genders, but like at least 3 in terms of who Joe Biden is and how well in touch with the zeitgeist he is. That's a good answer.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sen's. He's so funny, but well, yeah, like with the Chauvin thing, it's like if this doesn't go the way it is, we're gonna get another summer of like George Floyd riots. I mean, right? Can we if he walks, you don't think? I mean, I think so.
I think that it depends on if so I do think that there is a strong chance that the initial riots will happen, but I don't know that it will prolong itself,
Right.
because the reason that all of that stuff prolonged itself as long as it did was because you had such a huge cash injection from like the Tides Foundation, which went into the 2 BLM nonprofits, which sort of subsumed that rage and organized it towards much less. I mean, it sucked because like on one hand, I don't like the idea of violence and riots and all that. I don't think anybody really likes that, but like it was a more genuine expression of like the actual reaction people were having. And that sort of got subsumed into this first defund and then reform and then like sensitivity training, I guess.
Then vote blue.
Then vote blue. And then like once he was elected, they just shut it off. They were just like, nope, no more BLM.
Yeah.
Now,
up.
this is what will happen if those riots reinstate themselves. If the actual like rage bubbles back up, they're going to have to subsume it again with the NPOs. They're going to have to re-inject all of that cash into the ecosystem and be like, no, guys, this isn't how we do it. What we do is we get a bunch of white people to hold signs and walk down the street. That's what BLM is about. I don't know. I see the whole thing as just kind of it depends on what happens. If it's a prolonged like rage that and it's very well could be, I don't know. I kind of think that they're going to find him guilty because I feel like it would serve very little purpose to not find him guilty unless they really want to bubble that rage back up and just like police state it back down, which I don't think they want to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see him walking.
It depends.
And then
as long as AOC is out here running damage control, I think that the overall tone is we're going to try to do this the passive aggressive way, rather than the fully aggressive way.
Do you think they make him kind of like the example? Maybe make an example out of him. Be like, see, we fixed it. Shut up.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
See, yeah,
okay. Gotcha. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Regardless of if they do charge him, it's just a concession because there hasn't been any other policy change. That was my thing. I was saying, it's like, regardless of whatever happens,
a fall guy, a fall guy,
and it's just
symbolic.
like symbolic. Yeah, it's which sucks because it could have been so much more. Like our podcast during the Floyd protests those were like some of my favorite ones early on when we started this because we were like fired up. It was like some legit. For a couple days and weeks there, it was like authentic, and then and then and I was I thought that was cool, but with the BLM thing, what do you think? Because you seem to know way more about this than I do, but I did remember thinking like, wait, where did that money go? All these donations, and then I Googled it, and then all the Google search results were like, you're a right winger if you question where this money went. And I was like, wait, what? Like, what happened to the
Tamir Rice's mom didn't get anything. Like, that's another story.
Got shit. And also got angry publicly and got shouted down by a woke mob.
I forget
like
who
they're
that
like,
was.
you're just trying to self-promote.
There was a high up lady in like the BLM thing that made a video like, hey, she doesn't know what she's talking. It was crazy. Like,
what?
It was
I don't know anything about
shit insane.
Well,
Unacceptable too.
Tamir Rice was the one. I don't know if you remember, but like Tamir Rice was the one playing with the toy gun. It was a kid.
Playing
with a toy gun. He was in Cleveland. I want to say it was
like 13 or 14.
And then the cops just came and just started firing, like opening firing on him.
Yeah.
But like this was years ago, and she's like, I couldn't even pay for his funeral. Like,
and so she had concerns being a mom and being like, what's this activism leading to? And she's like,
I'm not even taken care of. Like, and this was like, and you're using my dead child's name.
Man, it's so funny. That's what we talked about last. How when non-white people question this shit, they get the most hate. It's the funniest thing.
Absolutely.
So weird.
Like, and it's not just non-white people questioning it. Non-white people who are directly involved, directly affected by the situation question it. And note that these larger organizations, the Movement for Black Lives, which is an NPO, and the Black Lives Matter, I think national organization, I don't remember the full name of it,
right?
But they both took in somewhere in the neighborhood of like, if you combine the two organizations, like $10.3 billion.
Jesus Christ.
2.2 billion of it came from the Tides Foundation, which is Peter Buffett.
What's the Tides? I was going to ask you about that if you want to.
It's Peter Buffett or Warren Buffett. I can't remember which one right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
But sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I was just so blown up. Yeah, because I was like, wait, what did come of all this? And you
gotta talk to Fox Green from Space Commune.
I love Fox.
He is absolutely 100% the like can rattle off from memory this.
Okay,
Fox.
Yeah, I can't do it from memory. I have reference like spreadsheets and reference that I've built.
Yeah.
I'm not as good as going from memory as other people.
And you're better than us. So like I've only seen just like hearsay. Like I saw the Tamir Rice's mom video thing, and I was like, well, that was I believe her. Sorry. Like,
No, I have 100%.
What can I say? Yeah.
How do you not believe the mother of the fucking kid that died?
Yeah.
Like, because there were people saying like, and it was fucked up. Like there were people saying, well, you won the civil suit. Where's all that money? And it's like, okay, that's another discussion. Why you're talking about like billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Going
Exactly. We're not talking about that civil suit was for a couple of $1 million,
Yeah.
if I remember right. Like I think it was less than 5.
Right.
And you know what? That would have taken so long to resolve. Of course, she couldn't have paid for the funeral.
Yeah.
In the meantime, these other organizations are sopping up all of these donations from these billionaire capitalists in order to direct all of these actions from justified outrage towards these milquetoast, non-violent protests.
Right.
And I say non-violent because even some of that was quote unquote violent by the standards of a lot of the country.
Sure.
But like,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
None of it was ever going to threaten anything because the people at the head of it had money. And ultimately, the people at the head of it are organizing people against their own interests. So obviously, it's going to be defanged at some point.
That was definitely a depressive moment for me. There's been a few of those this last, 12 months or, 18 months or whatever. But where I was like, oh man, we could have the largest worldwide protest like in human history,
leading to the labor strikes. Like I thought this was gonna.
Nothing. It's all NGOs, all fucking DNC. It's just like, and let's be real. There are those kind of like weird, like they almost hate BLM like too much type of bros. They're like, all right, like you're a little too into this. You
were looking for you were looking for an ethical way to hate on this.
Exactly.
Like, exactly.
Yeah, but it's like, come on, like like what is going on with this? And I think like our friend Adam there has good thoughts on this shit. He walks a good line with that, and it's just like, yeah, and he talks about how it's like even people that he respects, that even people that he respects, like good, like theory bros and media figures and and leftists and stuff they'll toe that party line and not be willing to criticize it for whatever reason, which is like Zizek and other people and stuff like that, which I found interesting. I'm not so involved in that world, but I was like, oh, okay, yeah. But I was just like, what is happening with this? Like, what's come of it? Yeah, I saw today the Biden increasing the militarization, and all the libs and the replies are like, well, is it Q1 or Q4 or Q2?
They were saying it was for capital insurrection too. That's the problem.
Oh, that's the worst.
That's what this capital riots. It's like that's going to be used forever. They're going to use it as 9/11, whether it was 9/11 or not.
And it's like, okay, like that doesn't justify. So you're saying we should militarize? It's not going to go the way you think it is, guys. Like, how dumb do you have to be to that's crazy to me. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's nuts. But just wanted to pivot to one thing just before we run out of time. So Peter, my co-host Crypto Sai, he's a vegan. So it was, I mean, we wanted to have you on, and it's not for this, but I was like, you know what, while you're here, this is talk about this.
Yeah.
So I'll let you explain your take on veganism, or at least like the industry of veganism, I should say.
It's more about the industry,
right. And I'll let you explain it. I don't think he's gonna actually disagree with you as much as I think, but where I jumped in on your thread on it, I jumped in was when you just said being veganism is strictly a consumer choice and should be viewed as that, right? Was that is that what you were saying?
That is the absolute core of it. Like I think that there is I think that if you talk to people who are very serious about veganism, there are a lot of people who will tie it to anti-capitalist beliefs that they have. And I think that that's fine. But veganism itself is not automatically anti-capitalist because there are so many vegan products. There's ways to consume, and there's nothing wrong with consuming. This is the thing that I end up getting in a lot of trouble for, because people think that when I say it's a consumer choice and it doesn't actually affect the supply chain, that I'm saying it's a bad thing to be a vegan. And I'm never actually saying that. I personally try to eat as little meat as I can. I eat chicken, but that's how
dare you? No,
easy, and it can be made very well if you know what you're doing. The problem I have is the same problem as people telling you that you need to not shop at Amazon. It's like, no, that doesn't change anything. If I don't shop at Amazon, I will shop at some other place, and that some other place is ultimately exploitative of all of the same things that Amazon is. It's just that Amazon is more efficient at it and perhaps does better. When I look at things like people say, the response to that from people who are particularly invested is usually, hey, if everybody switched over, there would be way less pollution. And it's like, I don't know if I agree with that either, because it takes you have to deforest in order to farm soy. People say, well, soy is primarily used for feeding animals. It's like, well, what if it was primarily used for feeding people? Like, I feel like it's probably the same issue there. And you're ultimately still exploiting people in that, and you're exploiting land, you're killing animals. And the real problem isn't whether or not people eat meat. It's A, capitalism as a whole, and B, factory farming and factory production of meat.
Yeah, I actually 100% agreed with the consumer takes you had, and I've seen it just sucks now that today, because I started flirting with this, going like plant-based, maybe what is it? Yeah, maybe
right when we got out of high school. I remember like right
yeah,
when we got
yeah,
out of high school.
yeah. So for a good like 10 years, and even 10 years ago, it was so different than it is today.
It's a little north of that now. I hate to break it to you, but
yeah, no, well, I meant no, because no, it was like 2010 when I got serious about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
right,
so
right.
yeah, because for the first couple of years after high school, but that is funny. Yeah. But no, even back then it was just so much more. Even though it wasn't great then, it was so much more organic, and today,
Well,
it's
yeah,
just all,
I mean,
it's all like
it
Go
was
ahead.
at that point more of an actual. I mean, I don't want to say it wasn't based in consumer choice, like they were trying to advocate for opening up
Well, and I'll be
market
honest,
demographics, but it
Yeah.
was at least a much more genuine demand.
Yeah, and I don't even like, I hate the label so much. I don't even identify it, precisely because of the things you have made clear with this, with the consumer shit, because it's so crazy now. It's all like a lab meat, Bill Gates kind of, like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation kind of vibe, which is insane, and people are falling for it. This is what Serena talked about, our previous guest, she's been vegan from birth, right? So she knows, she knows every trick in the book, basically. Yeah, and it's just so wild to me. It's like people are trying to like color it up and trying to, because it's like, we need a mass adoption, we need everyone to get on board with this stuff, which I've never really believed in. The one thing that I do disagree on, well, it's interesting, is like, take like and this is, I'm trying to think if there's any other examples like this, because with the diet thing, it's really interesting. But take like an Instagram vegan who's like selling shit and doing dumb product launches and stuff, like the most basic cliche version of it, right? He or she by default is still avoiding all factory farmed animal products, is still avoiding all meat and dairy, is still avoiding all that stuff. So even if they're doing it for the precisely wrong reasons, it still has like largely the same effect, which is interesting. Whereas like with other stuff, the waters are more muddied, with whether it's political stuff or activism or stuff like that. Like with this, it's just like a choice, where if you're eating chickpeas instead of, like a McDonald's burger, that is directly affecting, the flow of commerce in our world, and that is pretty profound. So it's like, I don't know, I have a, and I'm definitely not saying this is you, because you, like you said, you're like, you're largely plant-based and everything, which is what I think we need to be anyway. It's like, I don't think everyone needs to be 100% or whatever like that.
Also, like, just to be completely clear, I don't think that lab meat is a bad thing. I think that
I don't either. Yeah,
an asset held by capital is a bad thing, though.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's it is. It's just, it's a product, is what it is.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just a product. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. It's so cringe. This whole movement's becoming so cringe, and it's backfiring,
Well, and it assigns I'm sorry to interrupt, but it
No.
kind of assigns. It's the same thing with COVID. It's the same thing with everything. It basically just shifts the blame down to the consumer.
Absolutely,
and that's what I've always hated. Where it's like, you're fucking up the world, and it's like, I'm in a 1-bedroom. Like,
yeah.
Okay. What are you talking
about?
I will. Okay.
Exactly.
I will say that for sure. I agree with. I'm half and half on this, because I 100% agree with that. I hate how they, especially, like the Bill Gates will write blogs on how, you need to change and all this stuff, when he's fucking up the earth more than anyone,
That's what I mean.
Yeah, but
what, Bill Gates, isn't he a nice guy?
Yeah,
with a great
He's wearing
a
sweaters
doctor,
now.
Great sweater.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sweat. But
He drinks poop or something.
He does poop water.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
oh God, yeah, I saw that. But no, but I will say the opposite of that. People say that as like a major leftist cope. Like we've talked about this, like the Matt Christman vibe of like no ethical consumption under capitalism, bro, and like stuff in your face with like McDonald's McRib or something. It's like, okay, you're just excusing to be like a fucking fucking chode, you know. It's like
I eat better than Matt Christman.
Yeah, we all do, you know. And I'm not judging anyone for what they eat or whatever, but don't use some dumb some dumb boilerplate leftist take to justify you like making bad choices in your life. You know,
I think that this is the case against the sloganeering, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
because you ultimately get into this ability to sort of symbolically reject the idea that you have anything to do with anything, which is not the truth. You do have something, but it's just not your consumer choices that have something to do. Like you could still be healthier. Like you could make your own life better in some ways. And that is, it's not that you can make your life how it should be, but you can make it better. That is something that's true. And I think that ultimately the sloganeering, the kind of like no ethical consumption under capitalism, even that, like when you say no ethical consumption under capitalism, it doesn't matter what I eat, doesn't matter what I do. You're allowing the framework of like consumption to be the issue. Like in my opinion, we need to, if anybody says no ethical blank under capitalism, it needs to be production. Like I always hate hearing people like say, well, it's a slogan. It's pointing. It's whenever I say, when somebody says that stuff, I always go, no, it's no ethical production under capitalism. So it goes, well, that's the whole point of the slogan is to point that out. It's like, well, it's a bad slogan then. It doesn't do a good job. It's like you should say it's no ethical production under capitalism.
It's like defund the police is the same way. It's like, well, we don't mean defund the police. It's like, well, everybody thinks you mean that, and that's why it's abolish not fucking the family. Popular.
Abolish the family is the absolute worst slogan, period. And it's like the probably the biggest issue I have with Marx and Engels is why the fuck did you promote this shit? You know the arguments that I have to constantly clean up with their actual fucking like did you read The Origin of the Family, Private Property in the State? No, you didn't? All right, well, here, let me school you on that before you keep using that fucking idiotic phrase, abolish the family. Because they don't want to abolish the family. They want to abolish the coercive economic conditions which force people into specific familial relationships. Now, that's not a slogan. That's not going to be catchy anywhere. Nobody's going to repeat that like on the street corner. Be like, oh, you hear this shit about like abolishing the coercive economic conditions that force people into specific familial arrangements. They're not going to do that. But like abolish the family doesn't sound like that. Well, it sounds like something totally different. Same thing with abolish the police, defund the police. Same thing with there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. Leftists fucking suck at slogans.
Nobody knows what it means. That's why it's so provocative. It's like
exactly.
Glory,
See, when somebody hears it, man, what they're gonna do is ask what it means. It's like, no, they're not. They're gonna assume it means what it sounds like it means, and they're gonna argue with you because you sound like a fucking lunatic.
And it's just become, in this day and age, it's just an excuse for like kids that hate their parents as a leftist or whatever. Like, you know, that's all it is. You know, it's just like, fuck families, and
which
you know,
isn't
it's like,
sustainable. Because you will eventually fly
my
back.
My mom makes me do my homework and shit.
Abolish the family.
Abolish the family, man. And then there's then there's people who like they have legitimate trauma that comes from their family, like trans youth who have these awful families who treat them horribly. So they start saying this as a reactionary thing to that. And it ends up being just some shit to preserve the status quo, because ultimately it paints leftists again as these lunatics. And it's like, I don't feel good that that's the situation that they were in. I feel like their family should have been supportive and shit. But that, again, can also be tied back to coercive economic relationships rather than the fact that it is a family.
It's as bad as like the super trad bros that are like, you know, they totally think that every family is just like chocolate chip cookies and no abuse and stuff like that. And no, you know, no sexual, no gay or trans like issues or, you know, like conflicts and, you know,
or even just like, you know, you have a lot of people who have they've survived either violence, like domestic violence, or sexual abuse. Like, and that doesn't have to have anything to do with LGBTQ plus issues.
Yeah. But just back on the vegan thing, I definitely, because I like to introspect about this a lot, and I'm like, okay, I don't agree with like 80-90% of people that call themselves vegans now, like politically on so many different issues. I'm like, well, why am I doing this? I'm like, it's just because I want to at this point. It's like,
exactly.
It's like what I want to do.
Good.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
Exactly.
And this is the thing that people get so angry at me about. They think that I'm telling them that it's bad to be a vegan, and it's not. It is your life. Yeah. Like the ultimate thing that I want is for capital not to have coercive ability to force any dynamic in our lives. If you want to be vegan, you should be able to be vegan. If you don't want to be vegan, you should be able to eat meat that doesn't come from capital.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, totally.
You shouldn't be eating meat because it's the only option, because you don't make any goddamn money and you have to go to Walmart and buy the cheapest goddamn thing you possibly can, which is going to sustain you and give you enough protein to fucking do anything. Yeah. That is a bullshit place to be at, as much as any other of the situations we're talking about here.
Yeah. And do you think some of the pushback you got, because I remember the tweet was in a response to like that stupid protest where everyone like puts like animal blood all over themselves and like rolls like a pig. Yeah. Like, do you think that some people just think, well, they're being radical? Like, because I think you probably still have
definitely
people that follow you that are still kind of that type of person where any kind of radical demonstration of anything is like good. You know,
yeah. If it's against the status quo, at least aesthetically speaking, that means
aesthetically
it's good.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is that it's not against the status quo in anything but aesthetics. And in those aesthetics, in the image that it creates, which is then taken by the media and reproduced to everyone as, look at how fucking insane these people are. That's the end result. It creates the look how fucking insane these people are image, and then everybody else just like ends right there. They're like, I don't have any reason to interrogate factory farming. I don't have any reason to interrogate.
Yeah, I don't want to be that. Yeah,
those people are fucking nuts.
Yeah, and I've been involved in those worlds. I know a lot of those people. I've never been in that clique or whatever, but I've I've been once
I've been near those people too in my life, to be clear.
Well, and it's interesting because let me just gather my thoughts. I feel the same as that. Like for me, factory farming is the biggie. I really don't like, I don't think we'll ever get to a place. I don't, where we're never slaughtering animals or whatever. And, I'm just being realistic.
We can't force that on like hunter-gatherer societies.
You can't force it. Yeah, exactly.
That's imperialism.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Joe Rogan fucking crossbow to the neck.
Tranquilizer dart. Yeah. But my whole but like with those guys. And so, I do think that it's complicated because I do think, or complex, because I do want to see factory farming end in my lifetime or my grandkids' lifetimes. It's questionable how much meat we could eat with our numbers of population. If we did it all the free range way. I think that's just a math problem, not like a moral or anything.
No, I completely agree with you.
But to speak on those, on the pig blood dousers or whatever, those guys, like they really are passionate and they believe what they believe, but man, it is a cult vibe in that scene. Like, 'cause there are leaders, and they like. I was talking to this one girl that I worked with, and she was like, she wasn't like rich at all. Was working minimum wage. She spent all her money to go to one of these, like fly down to California, go to one of these activist meeting group thing, and she was like, I almost got to touch the leader, the guy who started. I was like, oh, this isn't me at all. Like, I don't give a fuck about that guy, and it's like, so I was like, okay, this is like kind of a cult thing. And I'm like, not about it, and it's like,
also it's not effective at all. It's literally like to go into a right-wing example, it reminds me so much of like the trucks where they have the fetuses printed on the side to be like, you should never get an abortion. And it's like, I find that disgusting.
Yeah, maybe if the girl had sex with
you for doing that.
Truck, yeah, you're the reason because I had sex with the truck baby guy. I have to get an abortion.
Yeah,
and the funny thing, and I feel most people are like us too. Like whether it's you guys who like lean, a little bit more, have a couple more animal products in their diet, versus me who go a little bit less. And I'm like, I'll do honey and stuff like that. I'll eat.
Honey's fucking delicious.
It's rad. Yeah, it's fucking bees are. Yeah,
that is a goddamn gift.
Yeah,
right there.
And that's also part of like I eat honey, A, because I think it does have benefit. Bee products do have benefits, but also B, it shields me from being called a vegan, so I don't have to associate with the fucking psychos that think you're destroying the planet for eating honey. You know what I mean? So it's like it does a dual purpose. You know, it's like,
and the thing with that too is like honey production provides a reason to like preserve bees, and like bees aren't like, we are not treating bees inhumanely. Like they get exactly what they like. It's completely different than the situation of animals. At least
it's funny. So I will say, and it's hilarious because this leads back on the hypocrisy thing when it comes to the vegan thing, because you know, if you're buying a $10 jar of wildflower honey from a farmer's market that comes from like a farmer, that dude is taking care of his bees. That dude is not abusing his bees. They're having good lives. Versus if you're a vegan and you're eating fucking even organic peaches at Walmart, they were pollinated with literal slave bees fed sugar water. So it's like you can't get around the bee issue. Like you are exploiting bees if you're eating, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's such a blind spot in this community that I'm like,
it's a new BLM.
Yeah. BLM.
BLM.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like you know, you think you're being cool by avoiding, and I'm not trying to be down the vegan community or whatever, but you know, you think you're being cool by avoiding bee products when you're eating stuff that's like, our whole fruit and vegetable economy runs off of like sugar water bees imported on giant semi trucks all throughout the country. And it's like, we need to stop that. We need to go back to the agrarian stuff, you know, which is exactly in line with the you know, just the, you know, the localism kind of thing, which isn't the solution to everything, but I think, you know, it's, you know,
I think you touch on something that's really important though, which is that, oh shit,
it's all good, no worries.
No, I had something, just like, even with the pig blood rolling around people, to me, that's almost like kind of a media trick to help like foster farms.
Oh, for sure.
To be like, look at these fucking idiots. You know what I mean? And then you're gonna get the people who love eating meat or be like, I am going to Walmart and buying all the chicken I can find. Yeah. I'm buying like all the beef. Because these people are fucking sick. You know, and it's the same concept. It's the same concept when they see people doing like super performative, like defund the police stuff. They're like, no, I actually love the police now. That's what starts the Blue Lives Matter.
The police are bad.
The thin blue line flag and stuff. It's because of the deform. They're doing is trying to stick it to the performative stuff. It's like when you see the stupid, like out in California, it'll be Cinco de Mayo, and there will be the one guy who like hooks up the American flag to his truck that day. It's a fucking statement. That's all it is. Is what that performative side of it is. When really it is, like you said, it's an individual choice.
Yeah.
For the best, and it should be an individual choice.
And the best thing, the best activism, ironically, to if you really care about everyone converting over or whatever, is to focus on that individual choice, which is like the best activism is when like the Netflix documentary where it's like,
what the health?
Or well, I mean, What the Health Conspiracy, they're good. I got some issues with them. I also got some love for that. But like I'm thinking of the one I really like, the Game Changers one, where it's like, hey, these guys are like peak physical performance. Nate Diaz like won a championship UFC and he ate fish like a couple times a month.
Cam
like
Newton,
that's what really gets into like bros' heads where they're like, wait, Nate Diaz fucking did that. Like, that's where they're like, oh, I'm gonna try it now. It's not the pig blood thing, you know. A very small percentage of people will shift because of the pig blood thing. Fucking 80% of everyone will cut meat 3 times a week because they saw their favorite athlete go more plant-based, not even vegan or whatever, you know. So I think that's like a way more effective for actually, if you really care about, you know, then that'd be the way to do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's if you care about the individual choice, ultimately, like in a lot of ways, that's more caring about the people around you than it is about the industry. This is I think that it's definitely not wrong to advocate, like from a health perspective or from any of that, like with people like, hey, this can actually be good for you. I don't, and you know, there's a lot of conflicting health reports on a lot of different things,
for sure.
But I understand that viewpoint. And I have also, like I said, cut a lot of meat out of my diet for those reasons. So, I mean, personally speaking, I buy a lot of it. But it's my opinion that if we started focusing more on the fact that the same entities are ultimately causing all of the problems that vegans are purporting to fix by telling you to consume differently. Instead of thinking about it from like, okay, well, what is the end user thing that I can do? What can I buy at the store? Because that ultimately, the product itself contains like the kind of catharsis on top of the actual health benefits. You get the catharsis of doing something.
Yeah.
And in fact, you're not analyzing power. You're not asking the question, where did this come from? Because the vegan product was an exploitative product as well, because that's how capitalism works. It's set up in an exploitative way. And if we could get people to understand that, like, hey, this is a health choice. This is something that is definitely like better for you. But the real, like, the thing that these folks are talking about, and maybe ineffectively handling, that is a problem that is also screwing you as much as it is any animal.
Yeah.
I think that's really, it, in terms of like at least messaging, I think that's really the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, damn.
I just loved the one tweet you did all your tweets and had all a bunch of people tripping in your replies on the vegan thing, and then you just sent one out that said like, and vegan consumers with the 2 O's, as you know. I was just like, yes, dude, that's so funny.
Yeah,
I was just like, you just doubled down. That was so good.
It's all consuming your way, because like liberalism, like to them, they believe in ethical consumption more than anybody.
Oh,
like by far. I don't even like the right does it for sure, but it's liberalism is like, I watch this TV network instead of that TV network. Therefore, I am a better person. No, you just have politics that are the status quo, right? Yeah. Which allows you to sleep better at night or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of, it's interesting. Well, Peter, we appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me.
Hope Movie Bob doesn't see this.
I'm
I will tweet about it, and there's a good chance he will see it, but I don't know if he'll listen to it.
Okay.
I mean, if we mention that he was mentioned, he will listen.
We'll clip it and say,
I'll DM him. Hey, bud, just before you see it, just so you don't see it from someone else, buddy. No.
Dude.
But, yeah, exactly. Well, that's it. So, Peter, if you want to just plug your stuff one more time, just for the end, and then, we're good.
All right. On Twitter, it's at Peter Coffin. On YouTube, youtube.com/Peter. I have a book that is available on Amazon called Custom Reality and You. I am in the process of writing another book called Woke Ouroboros. Stop trying to make me sound like a fascist, because I'm not.
Well, this won't help you. Being on here won't help your case, let me tell you. But,
I don't know. You guys have a good logo.
Yeah. We're fashion.
It's very inviting. It's very inviting. It's like we're
it's
so
nice
guys.
inviting.
Like, it's one thing if you disagree, but am I?
It's rare candy. The candy's rare.
Oh, exactly. I was gonna ask you. How familiar are you with like the Pokemon universe, the original? Do you like Pokemon, the old school stuff, the original 150 at all?
I played it, but to pretend like I knew everything about it, that would be a vast.
What about that? We were gonna. Okay, you're Peter Coffin, that Pokemon Koffing, and then Peter Wheezing. We're gonna do
first time I
I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like,
nonetheless, so all three of us not fascists. I'm gonna say that on the record.
So not fascist.
Not fascist.
Not even like the Tucker Carlson kind of fascist, where like they dog whistle some class stuff. Like I've made videos debunking Tucker.
God, that's another time. I agree. I agree. Well, I'm at Glenn Rockney. He's at Crypto Sci. We're at Rare Candy Pod 1. Subscribe, review. We're on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. So just come find us. We're gonna slowly beat out the other Rare Candy podcasts. I swear to God, we're getting there. That's an actual Pokemon podcast, but
nice.
So one of these days, we'll get past them. But people are like, "Yeah, I googled you guys. That shit sucks," and I'm like, "Hey, not me." Yeah,
we're way cooler than them.
Yeah, but anyways, so Peter, thanks for joining us. That's it for us today. All right,
thank you.
Fuck a left, fuck a right, is you riding? Know you love to see it. dudes rocking. Ain't no politics, baby, we just talking. From the birds to the bricks, we be in the mix. With that rare candy paint job on the whip, who you with?